episode of Real Talk. Hot topics. So no worries. Tonight's gonna be a buzzword. It's the beer bug. What do you know about the beer bug? Do you know the truth? Truth is such a fickle thing. Such a nuanced thing. Could you handle the truth?
Who has already received the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine now has the virus. The comedian, actor Chris Rock, last night tweeted that he has, and I quote, "Trust me, you don't want this. Get vaccinated." A new CDC study agrees with
a study that is deemed to be skewed and untrue. Back to you.
Chris Rock. They say from their data, or based on data collected from 13 states for the first 6 months of this year, a vast majority of the hospitalizations, at almost 90%, comes from unvaccinated adults, whereas that number is only 4% for adults who are fully vaccinated.
I think it's time to get some truth in here. Let's ask somebody who doesn't work for you.
Well, first of all, the CDC actually within itself doesn't trust its own data. There are whistleblowers inside of the CDC who have countered these numbers, arguments, and the overall data as it pertains to the deaths, as it pertains to those who have transmitted the virus, as it pertains to those who have contracted the virus. The CDC early, I believe, or mid last year in 2020, it was admitted that the tests, for example, were contaminated. A large percentage of those that were sent to roughly 100 laboratories all throughout the United States were admittedly contaminated. So from the very beginning, the people dealing with the recording of the numbers and those tracking who was positive or negative was already contaminated to begin with. And due to an internal investigation between the CDC, HHS, and FDA, they are still investigating, trying to see exactly what is accurate and who is it that is behind this. So the CDC itself is not accurate, and they have already admitted that those numbers are skewed. Recent circumstance that I've not only been researching, investigating, so that we can all have a full informed consent, as our brothers of Pomonalo will definitely agree with me on. People should have the full informed consent, meaning all of the data. We should be given the full benefits as well as the detriments. We should be given the alternatives, including the nutritionist route, including the herbalist route, including any other route, not just being told to take the shot. That is not true informed consent. And every medical professional, as our brother just said with experience, he knows very well that informed consent is something that every patient should be given, and they have not been. Although I do not have a degree, I have experience with tens of thousands of parents dealing with their children, dealing with their families, their elders, and them as well. So we may not have experience in the hospital physically in that building, but this whole city and circumstance and country has become a hospital. And so wherever you see the person suffering, that is where we are there to help them. And I've had a lot of experience in that.
You short, Jamie. Some argue if you get COVID, then your immunity is stronger than the immunity that the vaccine provides. That's one of the major arguments people have against taking the vaccine, is that natural immunity would be stronger. Is that true?
You know, there are several things that people have to understand about COVID in general. And I think that there are misnomers that are populated on a daily basis all over the place. The first misnomer is you're positive for COVID. No one is positive for COVID. SARS-CoV-2 is the infection. That's the virus. The disease is called COVID-19. That's what we have to understand first and foremost. Once you're infected with SARS-CoV-2, the virus, which is an RNA virus that consists of many different types of proteins. We're going to talk about the proteins that are on the outside of the virus. One's called spike, membranous, envelope, and nucleocapsid protein. Once you're infected by that virus, when it enters your body and it binds to your epithelial cells, or the cells that line the inside of your lung and your airway, your immune system becomes activated. And once your immune system is activated, it recruits white blood cells to the area where the virus is most present. When that happens, that's when disease can possibly start. If too many white blood cells get recruited in your lung gets congested. It can't do its job anymore. You cough, you become short of breath, you develop pneumonia. If too many white blood cells end up in your intestine, an area where the virus also likes to infect, you're going to have loose stool. You're going to have abdominal pain. And so that's the first order of business. Now, when you think about this term natural immunity, what that essentially means is you're exposed to the virus. Your white blood cells take a look at this virus, they cut it up and break it up into little pieces. They display these little pieces to other white blood cells to make antibodies, to make T cells, to make B cells and dendritic cells, all cells which manufacture molecules to help neutralize the virus. And then within about 7 to 14 days, once all of those molecules are around your body doing what they're supposed to do, you get better. But when you compare natural infection to vaccine-induced immunity, natural infection is probably just as good. And there was a paper that was published last night, preprint, that shows that the antibodies stay around for longer and they're around. And so what that means to me is if one of my patients who's hesitant about getting the vaccine, if they have already been infected, and I usually use 6 to 8 months, within 6 to 8 months, because I want them to have that Delta variant, I'm not going to scream and yell and tell them to go get vaccinated and go get vaccinated. I'm going to say, listen, you were lucky. Your protoplasm was great. You got through it. You're feeling fine. I'm not going to scream at you for the vaccination.
So the vaccine makes you less likely to die and makes you less likely to get sick. That's the claim that's being made here. Do you disagree with that claim?
We only operate along actual facts, so the claim in itself is not factual. The former director of the CDC stated that early on, the evidence and the data was to show and was to purport that the vaccines would prevent hospitalization and prevent death. That was the intent. It was never intended to prevent the contracting of the virus or the spreading of the virus. Later on, you see the 17th of this month, they just had the meeting. The FDA actually had their meeting with biological products and vaccines. And they just did that virtually. It was roughly an 8-hour meeting by where multiple doctors, chemists, scientists did their presentations on their new updated findings. There was a doctor by the name of Joseph Freeman, who was an emergency medical physician from Cornell, who stated that not only is that data no longer the case, but one, the people who came into his clinic, along with most of his nurses who take care of these people, those who did not take the shot, one, were healthier, two, were far more educated about the studies, three, are the people who actually knew far more about it than those who were vaccinated. That's one major point. Another thing is, brother, the pulmonologist who just spoke, dealing with natural immunity versus vaccine-induced immunity, he did state beautifully the immunoresponse. And he also stated beautifully how the vaccine-induced side of it is only giving you a spike protein, which is a part of the virus. Here's the beauty of it. When you get the actual virus in the wild, you're getting the full virus. So rather than you taking one class, you're getting all the classes.
So all my Pokemon trainers out there, remember, when you get it in the wild, it's not only stronger, but it will make the response stronger as well. So were you ready for that truth? Now that you're more informed, and you can also look up that meeting. I'm definitely going to be watching that meeting. So stay informed, my friends. Stay amazing and stay excellent to each other. This has been Real Talks, Hot Topics. We're out.